Hello everyone, welcome to our second video. This is a brand new Shogi channel geared towards intermediate and advanced players. We're still very much figuring out things as we go, so if you have any suggestions or questions or any kind of feedback, please leave those in the comments. Also, if you like what we are doing here, please click on the thumbs up button, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. We hope to make many more videos exploring matches played by professional and semi-professional players. Today is quite a special day in that the third match between Shogo Orita and the level 4 professionals has taken place. So for those of you who don't know, there's an amateur player called Shogo Orita who is currently taking the exam to become a professional player. This is quite a recent thing. Traditionally, Japanese chess only admitted semi-pros and professionals under a certain age limit, and there was only one way to become a semi-pro or a pro. Shogo Orita used to play as a level 3 semi-pro, but due to the age limit, he had to leave the semi-professional association. Since then, he's been playing for a few years as an amateur, and thanks to the recent reforms in the Shogi Association, he qualified for this exam. So the idea of this exam is you have to play, well, basically he has to play up to 5 games against existing level 4 professionals, and his opponents are chosen by the order in which the level 4s became a professional. So his first opponent, for example, would be the most recent qualified level 4 professional. And then basically if he wins 3 out of those 5 games, then he becomes a professional, and if he doesn't, if he is not able to do that, then unfortunately he fails. So there's a lot of media attention in Japan around these matches, and Shogo was going into this match with a 1-1 tie. So basically, this third match, if he lost this match, then he would have been in a very difficult position because he would have had to win the remaining 2 matches consecutively against existing professionals, which is very difficult to do. But fortunately for him, in this match, in a 4th file swinging rook versus static rook match, Shogo played the static rook, and he defeated his opponent Hiroshi Yamamoto, and now he's up 1 game going into the 4th match. So hopefully he will win the 4th match as well, and he will become the 3rd professional to become a pro through this system. I think this is a great development, and hopefully in future maybe we can cover some of the matches that he played. But again, about using official professional matches, the Japanese Shogi Association and their sponsors have very particular requirements for giving permission for us to use these matches. So we're still working on this, and hopefully we can do this. But in the meantime, we will focus on practice matches played between professionals. Maybe there's less excitement there, but the quality is definitely there. So hopefully you'll take something away from what you see. So without further ado, let's go into this match. So this is another practice match between level 4 professional Mr. P and level 4 professional Mr. H. Another thing about our channel is that for now we're going to go with anonymity. So we're not going to tell you which professionals these are. Again, this is part of we're trying to navigate ourselves in the Japanese shogi world. It's part of the culture to be a little bit hesitant to go public with these things. So again, hopefully in future we can tell you who the players are, but for now it's going to be Mr. P and Mr. H. But they're both level 4 professionals, and this is an excellent match, so let's dive into it. So the match opens with pawn to 7-6, pawn to 8-4, silver to 7-8, silver to 6-2, pawn to 6-6, pawn to 3-4, and pawn to 1-6. So a static rook versus 4th file rook opening. Black is playing the 4th file rook. And this early edge pawn is part of the main opening strategy for Fuji system. So let's see, king to 4-2, rook to 6-8, king to 3-2, pawn to 1-5. So this looks like a Fuji system opening. Let's see how the game develops. Pawn to 5-4, king to 4-8. So this is interesting, right? So in a Fuji system opening, you won't be moving your king until you're forced to, basically. But in this game, Mr. P actually moves his king quite early on. So it looks like something else is going to happen, and indeed it does. So from here, white plays bishop to 3-3, silver to 6-7, king to 2-2, gold to 5-8, pawn to 8-5, bishop to 7-7 guarding, and lands to 1-2. So this is anaguma, so let's say a hibernating bear opening. And again, black is still unclear how he's supposed to develop his castle. So let's see how this goes. Silver to 5-6, pawn to 4-4, and pawn to 3-6. So again, this is a very unusual opening move, but black has a very specific strategy in mind, which becomes clear in the next 10 moves. So king to 1-1, knight to 3-7, and silver to 2-2. So white completes the hibernating bear formation. Pawn to 4-6, silver to 5-3, king to 3-8, gold to 5-2, king to 2-9. So this is actually not that unusual. So you might not see this too often in amateur matches, but apparently recently in the professional world, quite a few players have been playing this. And the idea is that you can use the knight, your right knight, for attack, while also not exposing the king to the diagonal of the square 2-8, 3-7, 4-6, etc. And then I guess another advantage is that when you go for an edge attack, again, it's kind of a little bit more difficult to check the king. Yeah, so let's see how this goes. So pawn to 7-4, gold to 3-8, and then rook to 7-2. So white is basically done with the formation and now is trying to attack. Let's see how black counters. So black pushes 6-5. This is a very important pawn push, because if you don't push this pawn, then basically you're allowing white to exchange the 7th file pawn without any plans for black to counterattack, which is not good. So pawn to 6-5, and then white plays gold to 3-2. This was kind of a key moment in this match, and black should have pushed pawn to 4-5, because this really, I mean, you're taking advantage here of the fact that your king is deeper down in the castle than usual, and then also you don't want white to make the first move after having such a strong castle, so black was better off attacking here. So a sample progression would be something like pawn captures, knight captures, and then bishop captures on 7-7, knight captures back, and silver gets out of the way of the knight, of course, and then a pawn push on 6-4, pawn captures, rook captures, pawn drop to prevent the rook from promoting, and then rook captures on 5-4. Maybe white takes the knight, and silver captures back, and a knight drop, forking the two gold generals. Again, black can just let white exchange those knights with the gold general, and that's the board. From here, maybe white can drop a gold general again, but a knight fork back is actually more powerful compared to white's knight fork. So let's say the gold general gets out of the way, then black can drop silver to 3-2. So you can see here that black has more pieces closer to white's king than white has against black's king. Again, if the king was on the 2-8 square, so one square above, then it would have been a lot more dangerous for black, but this is a great scenario because it's actually very difficult to check, let alone checkmate, black's king, and black is attacking. So this would have been one example where black would have been much better off attacking in this spot. But instead of doing that, black waited a move by completing the castle further with gold sidling to 4-8. And this allows white to take the initiative. So white pushes pawn to 7-5, captures, and black then pushes 4-5. But the difference here is that you can see how white managed to wield the rook. So white basically, if the bishop on black side moves, then white's rook comes in, and then even if the bishop doesn't move, white always has the option of exchanging the rook for the bishop. So this is a much better board for white compared to the previous progression. So from here, white defends with gold general to 4-3. Again, the fact that the bishop is always being eyed by the rook allows white to make these kinds of bolder moves. So of course black doesn't want white to promote the rook when the bishop moves, so black drops a pawn to 7-8. But this is like giving a free move to white, really, and also you're giving up your only pawn on this spot. So this move really kind of gives white the advantage, and I think from this point we see the game moving further and further away from black's favor and toward white. So white retreats the bishop to 4-2, and then black is kind of forced to attack here. So if black doesn't do anything significant here, so let's say black moves something like pawn to 9-6, which usually you wouldn't do, then white can capture back the pawn with like this, and after knight captures back, the silver would retreat. And at this spot, basically the retreated bishop's diagonal is protecting the 6-4 square, and the silver general is safe on the 4-4 square, and black cannot continue attacking without making lots of sacrifices. So this will be in white's favor. So let's go back. Okay. So black continues attacking, and again goes with the silver. But again here, it would have been better if black actually waited with the pawn drop on 4-5. So one example is silver to 3-3, a knight jump to 2-5, silver to 2-4, and then a pawn push to 4-4. Gold to 5-3, and then a pawn push to 2-6, just defending the knight, and a knight jump on 7-3, and then a bishop move to 6-6. So this is just allowing the bishop to escape the rook's gaze. And then after rook retreats to 7-4, silver advances to 4-5. This is still quite a complicated game, but at least black has all the pieces in play in a very balanced way, and black doesn't have to rush things here, and white is still on the defensive. Maybe white is a little bit better in that again the 7th file is clear, the right knight is in play, but this is very much an even game. Okay, so instead black went with the silver, and white defended with a pawn push to 5-5. So this is a classic example where white is making black continue the attack and then basically waiting for the best moment to prepare a counterattack. So black captures on 4-4, gold captures back, and then silver drop to 4-5, gold captures, knight captures, silver drop to 4-4, again making black make a continuation move, otherwise the knight will become useless or get captured. So black drops a pawn on 4-3, gold captures, and then a gold drop to 3-2. Now, usually in this kind of attack, it looks like black will get to capture that bishop, and it might look like that's a good thing for black, but in a hibernating bear match, a gold general is often much more valuable than a bishop. So, I mean, white really doesn't care too much if that bishop goes for a gold general. So white drops the silver onto 3-1, further strengthening the castle. Black captures the bishop, and then gold general captures back, and the bishop dropped to 5-4, defending the knight on the 4-5 square. But you can see that black is basically out of pieces in reserve, and there aren't any more pieces on the board either that black can attack effectively. So this is a very bad board for black. So white, of course, puts further pressure on black's attacking pieces with the gold drop on 4-6. This is really a great gold general, as we will see. So black sidles the bishop to 6-6. Rook goes down to 7-3, and then a pawn push on 6-4. The meaning of moving the bishop here is that once the rook is closer to the 6th file pawn, this pawn push actually allows the next move to hit the rook directly. So when the silver general captures the knight, black promotes the pawn on 6-3, and this is basically attacking white's rook. But still, white drops the pawn on 6-7 at this timing. If black captures back, obviously the rook comes in, so black counterattacks with the pawn drop here. Gold general sidles to 3-2, and then black captures the rook. But of course, white captures the bishop, and after the rook gets out of the way, a pawn drop on 4-7. Gold captures, gold captures, gold captures, and then another pawn drop. So this, as you can see, white's castle is untouched, whereas black really is starting to disintegrate. So after gold captures back, a check on knight with a knight drop, and after king goes up, the knight promotes on 4-9. So it's just the game is getting worse and worse for black, and of course black defends with gold 3-8, but a bishop drop on 6-9, and basically the rook is trapped. So rook sidles to 4-8, knight captures, silver captures, and then the bishop promotes on 5-8. So again, because the hibernating bear castle is basically untouched, white can take all the time in the world to attack the defending pieces on black's side. So here black drops a rook on 5-1, eyeing the silver on 5-4. Again, the silver on 5-4 really isn't that important for white, so white is thinking about how to finish the game. So rook drop here, and then a pawn push to 5-6, using the bishop for the defense, but white retreats the silver to 4-3, and then black sidles the promoted pawn to 6-3. So this is an interesting move. So let's say if white captured on 8-9, then the tokin will sidle again to 5-3, and this actually is a defensive move, because without this, white could have dropped a knight on 5-4. So what that looks like is that would have been a fork, but because thanks to the previous move, this can just be captured back. Without that, basically black would have been in big trouble. So it is a defensive move, interestingly enough. So instead, white uses the silver general up to 4-4. Black continues with the long journey of the pawn, and then a gold drop to 2-9 check. King goes up to 3-7, pawn drop and gold retreat, and then a pawn push on 3-5. So white really is here trying to deliver the finishing blow. So pawn goes into 4-1. So black is basically just conceding the game at this point, just making it look like it was close. And as you can see, black is even struggling to make it look close. So let's see how it ends. King goes up to 2-6, and gold captures the lance. So black captures the silver captures back, and a silver drop on 3-5. However, a check on 2-4 with the lance, and after the king sidles, the horse captures the gold general, and then king captures back. So the king captures back is really the only option here. Otherwise, a check on 2-5 with the gold general would give white the silver general for free. So king captures back, and then white captures back the silver anyway. Bishop 5-5 check, and silver drop on 4-4, defending. And at this point, black resigned the game. So from here, if black were to play something like bishop to 9-1, capturing the lance, then simply pushing the silver to 4-6 will end the game. If king retreated, then a check here will basically lead to checkmate. And if instead horse captured, then pawn captures back, and then king sidling, but then another fork check, and the rook is gone as well, and basically there's no way of recovering this game from here. So this is an example where one fatal move in really around the beginning of the middle game decided the whole progression after that. So if we go back again at this point, it would have been better if black went a little bit slower and dropped the pawn here, and really attacking too hard here allowed white to actually coax black into making some unreasonable sacrifices and eventually turn the game around. So that's it for this game. Again, I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe, like, and share. And also, if you have any comments, please share them in the comments section below. Thanks again, and see you next time.